Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Brittany Duphily. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Verteks Consulting. Today we have Mike Duphily. He's going to be talking about Enterprise Contact Center training, tips and tricks.
We received some fantastic news last week during Mitel's Next. Mitel announced that we were named the Government Partner of the Year. We definitely couldn't have done this without all of our customers and all of the excellent support from our engineers. We want to thank everybody again for this incredible honor. And with that, we're going to go ahead and pass this over to Mike and get started with today's training.
Hey, thanks, Brittany. So good morning, everyone. What we'll be covering today with our contact center webinar this morning is basically I want to take you through kind of some agent training that we've done in the past with a focus on looking at the new Agent Interaction Center redesign. In case you haven't seen it, in this very latest build of Contact Center that Mitel has released, they did redesign the Agent Interaction Center. So this is the web page that your agents use to log in and out of their groups and interact with the Contact Center. They've changed the look and feel of that, and we did have some questions come up about that recently. So we wanted to do a training where we would take you through that redesigned Agent Interaction Center and just let everyone see what that is looking like now. It is, everything there, all the features and functionality have remained the same. It's just the look and feel that have changed again. So we'll take you through here, and again, we'll go through kind of a full agent training that would usually deliver, showing you kind of the changes here in the new Agent Interaction Center. Let me go ahead and stop my presentation here. And we'll show you the system. Oops. All right, so I went ahead and pulled up our own contact center system here that we use for demos. And again, login screen looks pretty much the same. I'm going to go ahead and log in here as myself. And again, your agents would log in with their credentials here. Log into Contact Center. You'll notice here I'm getting prompted for an extension. A lot of times your agents won't get prompted for this particular piece of information, but one of the options that we do have with the system is if you have a call center where you have what's referred to as a hot desking environment, where your agents may not sit at the same phone each day. If you leave the extension field blank in Contact Center Director for an agent, they'll get prompted for this extension number when they log in. And again, this is mainly for people who might work at different extensions depending on where they're sitting that day. So this does match my extension, so I'm going to confirm that here. All right, and show you guys the new interface. So this is the new Agent Interaction Center interface. I'll point out a few changes and differences from the old one as we move along here. But the first thing you might notice is kind of our main toolbar at the top here. Previously, we used to have some text up there. So we'd have a log in and log out of my groups, and then stop taking calls and start taking calls for your release resume functionality. Now you'll notice that that's gone, and we have a single large, in this case, green available button in the upper left, and that's currently showing me my status. So green and available does mean I'm logged into at least one queue, and I'm not released, I'm available. So if there were any calls waiting in queue right now, I'm already logged in and able to take them. Now, the reason that I started logged in is, again, an option that we can set in Contact Center Director, so that when agents log in, they're automatic, or when agents sign into the Agent Interaction Center, they're automatically logged into their the groups that they're assigned to. That is something that can be turned on and off. So if you prefer your agents to start not logged in as soon as they sign in, that's again an option in Director. So kind of a big major difference here between this version of the Agent Interaction Center and the old one. Up top here, where it says available, previously, if you were to click on the small arrow next to the log into my groups, you would see a list of groups you could log into. with that permission set. Instead, in the new version, if I click the arrow next to available here, what I'm actually seeing are my release codes. This would be the text that used to be associated with the start and stop taking calls. If you hit the arrow there, you'll see the release codes. Now they've moved that to this primary button up top here, and they've changed the wording so we have ready states and not ready states. Still functionally the same as your release codes were previously. They've just been moved to this first button. Your group memberships are just under that where it says My Queues. And if I click the arrow here, this is where I will see all of my available queues to log in and out of. Again, you may not see this on your particular system. This is something that can be controlled with a permission. So if you do have permission to log in and out of individual groups, clicking on this arrow here next to My Queues will show that to you. We do have a new search function here, so an enhancement for systems with a large number of queues. We can now search through those, so you can filter this list down to see matches for that. Also, the functionality that used to exist simply by clicking on the word log into my groups and log out of all groups, that functionality has been moved to these two links here right at the top of the My Queues dropdown. So if I hover over this one, you'll see it says all queues, and this one says no queues, and these are functionally equivalent to logging in and logging out. So right now I'm signed in, and you can see I'm logged into 4 queues here. If I were to click this no queues link, you'll see that now I'm logged out of all my queues, and my status up top here has changed to a red, not ready. So that's letting me know as an agent that I'm not logged into any queues here, and I'm not ready to receive any calls. When I'm ready to log back in, if I click that, I click all queues, and now the system's going to log me back into my permanently assigned queues, and now I transition back to available. For most systems, generally we usually have them configured so that when an agent logs into this agent interaction center, they're automatically logged into their primary queues, so they'll automatically be green and available. And we don't have to go through the extra step of clicking this and then clicking all queues here to really log in. But again, obviously depending on business cases and needs, you may want to have your agents not logged in just as soon as they access this web page. If I do need to log in and out of a specific queue, I can just click on these little slider buttons here. You'll notice that when I do click on them, the groups that I'm logged into do move up to the top of this drop down here. That is another functionality difference between the old system. Previously, if you hit the little arrow to look at your queues, they would always be in kind of their alphabetical order. When you clicked on them, they'd still stay in that order, so you could see which ones you were and weren't in. This one, when you log into a group, they will move to the top of the list here, just to make it a little bit easier to see which ones you're actually in right now as an agent. All right. As an agent, normally your other main part of your window here is going to be occupied by the queue viewer when you're not on a call. That queue viewer here is what we're looking at now. Obviously, we're just in a test system, so I'm not showing any calls in the queue currently. You can get to this page if it's not showing up. You'll notice along the left-hand side at the very bottom of my screen here where it says queued interactions. This is, again, this main part of the screen we're looking at here. And if you ever need to look at that, you can simply click on this queued interactions link to bring up the queue. By default for you as an agent, this is going to show you any calls that are queued for any queues that you are currently logged into. So I can see here, as an agent, I'm logged into the chat, demo English, Spanish group. This queue viewer will be showing me those particular queues. The calls will appear kind of mixed together for each of those groups by default. If I do want to change that, you'll notice right up top here it says Show All. I can hit this drop down and again change that option so I can show just my logged in. And I'm a supervisor, so I have a few extra options here. I can still see all the groups. And additionally, I can look at just a particular queue to see the calls that are queued in there. Normally, for most agents, we'll leave this set to all are logged in, and then the sort by queue position is the recommended option there, because that'll give you everyone's queue position for the sort order. So your oldest calls will appear at the top, and as we go down, you'll get down to the newer calls. Additionally, we can display some additional information here. So the columns here, the information that are in these columns is again something that we can specify in Contact Center Director. These are what are called call profile fields, and they include kind of mandatory information that we'll collect for every call coming into the system, such as their caller ID name, what queue they entered on, their wait time, and their queue position. Additionally, if we are doing any kind of database dips or collecting custom information from a caller, we can display that information here as well. So, for instance, if we've, as an example, asked a caller to enter an account number or any other piece of information before they entered the queue, we could display that information here in the queue viewer, as well as on the call for the agent while they're actually handling that call. So they can use that piece of information to look up additional information in another program if needed. You'll notice here on my display, I also have another section here, this agents view. This will let me see the agents that are currently logged into the call center system. This is something that only a supervisor, person with supervisor permissions would see in their agent interaction center. By default, an agent would not see this agents link here on the side. One other important thing to note here for agents, well, cover one more thing here. So along the very bottom of the screen, you'll see some little widgets here displaying some information about some of my queues. Mitel calls these key performance indicators, or KPIs. We can configure these on a system that's based on the agent's class of service. And we can display some simple statistics here, how many calls are waiting in queue for a particular queue, the average wait time for a queue, how many agents might be logged in, how many might be idle, how many abandoned calls. Those can all be displayed as little widgets here along the bottom of the screen. Again, it's not a hugely common feature we configure for a few reasons. One is for a lot of systems, we like to include bright metrics. Bright metrics has a much more feature-rich experience for displaying this kind of information for you. Additionally, screen real estate is obviously at a premium, and agents aren't always expected to have this page up and available on their PC if they're doing work with other applications. So sometimes we don't use this. Additionally, we can only display information about one group at a time here. And in systems where we have multiple queues, if we want to display all this information using these particular widgets along the bottom of the screen, it can get very busy and confusing for the agents since they might not know what they're looking at. So these KPIs are available as an option, but we don't always necessarily recommend using them on every system. All right, one other kind of important feature of the Agent Interaction Center here. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see my name here. And if I click the little arrow, I've got some options here. The big ones being settings and sign out. Download logs we only use for troubleshooting. Sign out will sign me completely out of the system and bring me back to the login page. Generally speaking, you'll use this kind of at the end of the day once you're signing out for the day and leaving. Also here, if I click on settings, a couple things to point out. We can adjust language here if we have some different languages. but more importantly, we have some checkboxes here that will allow notifications. So if you're using this Agent Interaction Center with a modern browser that supports notifications like Chrome or Edge, if you enable these, this will give the page permission to produce pop-up, what we call toast notifications in the lower left-hand portion of the screen, even if this web page is not up and focused on the display. This can be very useful if you don't want to keep this page up all the time. If your screen real estate's at a premium, you can allow these notifications and notification sounds potentially. I don't have that option here because I'm on a system without a sound card. But if you allow these notifications, this page can be minimized and you'll still receive notifications kind of down here in the lower right-hand side by the clock. So if I have an incoming call or anything like that, I'll get that pop up there in the corner. All right, settings here. Go back to queued interactions. So if I am an agent, kind of an example workflow that we'll see commonly for most organizations, what I'll want to do is sign into this page in the morning when I come in. I want to make sure that once I am signed in, I am green and available here. That's letting me know that I'm ready to take calls. Once the system schedule allows calls to begin to come into the queues, they'll start to queue up here or start to ring through to me as an agent. I'll handle those calls, normally throughout the day like I usually do. And then when it comes time for me to take a break, if I need to use the restroom, anything like that, instead of logging out or going here to the sign out option or going here to log out of a queue, we don't want to do that. What we'll do instead is use our release codes, or what we call not ready states now. And those can be accessed again from the little drop down arrow next to the green available in the upper left hand corner. I'll click that here. And then I'll see under these not ready states, different release codes that I can use to basically encode or report on the reason for the break. So, if I need to use the restroom, I can choose the break code here. Let's say it's my lunchtime, I can choose my lunch code here. These codes are fully customizable from an administrative perspective. So if I'm a call center manager, I can create custom release codes to cover different business cases why my agents might not be available if I wanted to track that time. You'll notice that when I do engage one of these codes here, it'll change this state to not ready. It'll let me know what code I'm using, so my lunch code, and it'll give me a countdown timer, letting me know how long I've been in that state. So currently I'm 35 seconds. And again, this is just for me as an agent. I can keep track of how long I'm in these release states. So I know, what my availability is and kind of when I'm supposed to be back if I'm on a fixed break. Once I am ready to return to the queue, I can go ahead and click this here, choose ready, and now that's going to set me back to green and available. And if there are any calls in the queue or ringing in, those will start to ring to my extension. Throughout the day, of course, we'll use this to take any breaks. And then at the very end of the day, once we're completely done, we can either just click on this My Queues and hit the No Queues link. That will log me out of the queues. You can leave this page up and logged in as long as you're logged out. Or alternatively, at this point, I can just click here and go to Sign Out. And that will also log me out and send me right back to my login screen here. And then, of course, at this point, I'm ready for the next day to log back in and start handling calls again. So pretty easy workflow here. Again, if you're familiar with the old Agent Interaction Center, the previous design, obviously there hasn't been too much that's changed functionality-wise, just a couple things that have moved around. So Well, I'm getting this set up to show you that. Brittany, do we have any questions from anyone yet at this point? If anyone does have any questions, we can get those answered. Or we'll take a look at the call here.
Nope, no questions so far. If anybody does, go ahead and put those in the questions of the chat windows, and Mike can answer them on the fly for you. We did have a question come in. Are these updates going to be rolled out as their yearly update, or how are we doing those updates, Mike?
Yes, yeah. So we will be looking to get everyone brought up to the latest version of Contact Center here this year. Mitel has kind of slowed down the cadence of releases for Contact Center in particular. We're, I think, going to be entering a phase of development for Contact Center. Basically, they've already announced, this Contact Center platform is, it's not end of life yet, but they have announced their intention to, move away from the Enterprise Contact Center as the kind of move forward Contact Center solution. So the pace of development has slowed significantly. So we're expecting, probably with this release and any future releases, they're basically at this point going to be kind of feature complete and fixed, and we'll just be receiving basically some security updates and bug fixes. But Contact Center is going to be, I think, much more static. We won't be looking at releases very frequently, maybe 1 or 2 a year, potentially even less than that. So as the system kind of settles into its kind of more long-term life here. We will have some more information here in the near future about obviously what will be the move forward option for us, which will be the My Contact Center Business option. That we will be able to use that with both the My Voice Connect system, so the legacy ShoreTel, as well as the new My Voice Business platform. So we'll hopefully have some more information for everyone about that here in the near future. Actually, I'm having a lot of trouble getting this test call in here. I do apologize for that.
When we have a live demonstration, it always has a few quirks.
Always something. Really briefly, so I'm still struggling with this here, just to talk a little bit about this agents page, which you can see if you're a supervisor. Again, not something we really configure very commonly, especially for a supervisor. You're definitely probably not going to have this page up all the time. But as a supervisor from the Agent Interaction Center, if I'm logged into the agent side of the house here, in this agents page, I can see the status of my agents here and what kind of calls they might be handling. So I can see, and again, this is everyone logged into the platform, not just the people who are necessarily in the groups that I'm supervising. I can see any calls that they're on. If I need to interface with them here, I can click on this call, and it will give me some of my supervisor commands here in the upper right. So for instance, I can see Bill is talking with a customer here, and with the right set of permissions, since I'm a supervisor, if I wanted to monitor this call, I do have a button that shows up here on this agents page that allows me to do that. I know that's a question we do get occasionally, is where does some of this functionality live, especially if you're used to the integration we had in the previous version of the ShoreTel Enterprise Contact Center. This stuff has moved to this agents page. Additionally, this help request filter up top here, again, not a very commonly used feature, but with the right set of permissions, an agent does have the ability to request help, and then that would show up on this filtered help request field. Again, this isn't something we generally implement in a lot of systems, just because the way this help request feature works it's not very good about getting a supervisor's attention probably as well as it should. So we commonly don't really use that in a lot of cases. All right, well, I just do not know how well I'm going to be able to make this test call in. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties here, of course. I'm going to try to do this today. But to really what's with that particular thing, nothing has changed with the interface that an agency sees while they're on a call. So if I were on a call and taking an inbound call, my status up here, instead of being green and available, it would say yellow and busy, letting me know that I'm on a call. This part of the screen will get divided into two sections. The section here that would appear on the left is going to again show you this call profile information. So the metadata we have about the caller ID, any information that we've either gotten from a database or asked the customer to input. And then on the right-hand side of the page, we'll have an interface to access wrap codes. So if you do use wrap codes on your system to code call dispositions, we'll have a button there that you can press to get access to those codes during the call. And then once you do hang up the call, you'll see a timer that'll give you a countdown for any configured wrap time for the queue. Then wrap time is call time in between calls that you have to wrap up any data entry or anything else associated with the call. And you can still enter wrap codes during that time. And then once that wrap timer expires, the next call that's waiting in queue will come in. One common question we do have about that from agents is, if you happen to be on a call and you know that you're going to need extra time beyond just your configured wrap time after the end of that call to complete your work, what we recommend actually doing is while you're on a call, you can go up here to your status where it says available, click the arrow here, and set yourself to one of these not ready states during the call. That won't hang up the call or interfere with it in any way. All you're letting the system know is that, okay, well, I'm on this call now. I know I'm going to need some extra time, so I'm going to go ahead and put myself in a not ready state before I've hung up this call so that I'm not going to get another call kind of right away or pretty shortly after I hang up with this person. This will keep me paused and keep new calls from coming in to me while I finish up the work I need. And then once I'm actually ready to take that next call, I can click my drop down here and go to my ready state. And then I'll be getting calls again. So that is pretty much it. Again, this is a simple sort of review of the new Agent Interaction Center. Mitel does have new documentation put together that does include screenshots and everything for this new Agent Interaction Center. And if we do need copies of that or you'd like to see the new documentation, feel free to reach out to us. We'll make sure you get pointed in the direction of that. All of this actually is available on Mitel's Document Center. Just to show you, you can just search for Mitel Document Center using Google. And where we want to go is to the main document center here. So Mitel's centralized all their documentation to a single new document center. So mitel.com document-center. All of the documentation for the MyVoice Connect system, you can find there under Business Phone Systems, MyVoice Connect, and then MyVoice Connect Contact Center. And this will contain all the documentation for the latest version of Contact Center. And in particular, what we're looking at here is the Agent Interaction Center, or Mitel Interaction Center User Guide. And this is a relatively short page you can share with your agents. And this will give them the rundown on all the functionality of the Interaction Center, how to do everything I've talked about doing here while we're speaking or during this webinar. And it's a pretty brief, only about 16 pages here.
We did have another quick question come in, Mike. When you have that status set to like out of office or on a break, if they're out for a long period of time, does a supervisor get notified, or can they see that state anytime?
Yeah, excellent question. So there's a couple ways we can do that. In the contact center director, associated with the group that the agents are a part of, there are configurable thresholds. And with those thresholds, we can set kind of a yellow warning timer or a red alert timer associated with how long an agent has been in a particular state. And that's the way we do it with the built-in tools. I think most of our customers, a lot of them are using Bright Metrics now for that, and I'll show you how to do that here. We can configure those same timers, but essentially what we have the ability to do is highlight an agent who has been in a state for too long, and too long is, obviously configurable. So what we'll do is I'll log into ours here. Now we'll do Bright Metrics, and again, we can do this similarly if you're using the built-in supervisor tools. I know a lot of folks have moved away from that and use Bright Metrics now. So with the real-time module for Bright Metrics, it lets me see kind of the live real status of the system here. Okay. Live one here. All right. So here we go. So this is a good dashboard. This ECC group's real-time status. You can see here I've got this agent status by agent name widget, and this is a pretty common one we'll configure on most systems. And this is showing me the status of my agents here. What we can do is edit this dashboard and edit this particular widget here. So we click on the three dots, we go to chart options. And what we can do is set an alert here. So along the bottom, I've got alerts. I can click here to add an alert. And what I want to do is, let's say I want to say when their state duration, so how long they've been doing something in particular, if that exceeds 300 seconds, what I'm going to do is just highlight them with a red background here, and that's kind of the default. And I can highlight kind of the whole row if I want, or just a particular category. I'm going to choose whole row here and apply it. You'll see here, so now I have an alert when they've been in a particular state for more than 5 minutes in this case. They're highlighted red. So you can see here in my agents, I've got Ryan, who's been idle, in this case for 10 minutes. Now he's highlighted red. And that's letting me know that they're, perhaps having, either they haven't taken a call in a while, or they're in a state for too long. Another pretty popular alert we can set here, instead of state duration, you can say total release time. So, this is a running total throughout the day of how long the agent has been released and not taking calls. Sometimes our agents don't really do what we want them to. They might slack off and stay in release more than they need. More than they need to. And again, we can set a state timer there, letting me know that, hey, their release time here is greater than a configured threshold. I was a little low on this. Only 5 minutes here, and obviously everyone's gone on longer than that so far today. One additional thing we can add here, let me show you, we'll change the design of this table a little bit, is we do have the ability to add the actual release codes here. So we can actually add another row here and have this actually state the release code. So with that here, I can see Jenna, she's released. I can actually see the release code she's using. And with that added to the table, we can add alerts on that field. So if you have a particular release code that you do or don't want them to be using, we can set up alerts for those as well. So with Bright Metrics in particular, we do always recommend using that to manage your contact center environment. Nowadays, it provides a much better experience. But as a supervisor, you can set alerts to notify you of those conditions. And again, one other option we do have here is that's somewhat difficult to implement on the built-in tools. We can enable audio notifications for these alerts. So if you're a supervisor, you can leave this tab running on your system. You can see the real-time status. And with the right set of alerts set up, you can even get audio notifications if these alerts are triggered. So you'll hear a little sound play out of your computer here, in addition to the highlighted information on the display. So hopefully that answers that question for everyone. All right. Well, yeah, if in case we didn't have any more questions, I think that's about all I had for us today. I'd be happy to hang out and answer any more questions anyone might have here for the rest of our time this morning. But otherwise, I do thank you for taking a little time in your morning. I apologize I wasn't able to fully simulate that call here. You know, us IT guys aren't immune from technical difficulties, unfortunately. But you know, we'll hopefully in our next set of webinars, we'll have some more interesting information for you. I can't say a whole lot yet. We do have I think some changes from Mitel on the horizon that will be kind of big news for everyone. Coming soon, but and we'll be covering some of that stuff in some of our later webinars here coming into Q2. But other than that, thanks everyone so much for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and we will look forward to talking to you and seeing you at the next webinars. Thank you so much.
All right. Looks like we still don't have any other questions. So we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you again for joining us today, and we'll see you next month where we're going to have a end user tips and tricks training that I believe Steve is going to be hosting. So we'll see you next month. Talk to you guys later.